Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a Garden Report off day between games 3 and 4. Josue Pavon, Bobby Manning. Believe it or not, both of us in Atlanta right now. You can see the sun blasting on both of us, which is going to keep me here for a short amount of time, Josue. I might burn if we go too long.
It's a beautiful day out, Bobby. We gotta enjoy it. I mean, this is the only evening I guess we had to enjoy it ourselves.
So we were both at practice today. Josue hit up the Celtics hotel. I went over to Hawks practice, not too far from where I'm at. And injury starting to pop up in the series. Well, just one. Marcus Smart fell on his back last night on that late box up by Clint Capella. Took a long fall to the ground. Looked like it hurt. He finished the layup after and grabbed at it. And it looked like he said over at the hotel that he's not certain if he's going to play tomorrow. Just like I was talking to Soap and Deb over there at Hawks practice, who just got into town, and I told him Marcus might not play tomorrow, and he didn't believe it. He said he's going to play. But Marcus actually said he's uncertain for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's interesting because he didn't mention the medical staff. He didn't mention anything about a decision having to come down. I just feel like it was his way of saying, like, although I thought I would feel worse in the morning, I'm still not sure if I'm going to be able to go. They would clear me, and I think that speaks to a lot to. I think it speaks to what the Celtics organization want to do with Marcus, right? I mean, they want to make sure that he's good to go for the rest of the run. I think they're looking beyond this first round matchup. I think Marcus knows that, and I think given his experience and his history with the team, and obviously dealing with injuries, I think he's looking at it as like, yeah, I'm probably 50-50, but obviously if you give him the opportunity, he's going to take it, right? Like if you leave it in his hands, he's going to say, okay, I'm ready to go. But I think there was some trepidation there, just considering the way the team will go about business and just how fortunate the Celtics have been in terms of injuries overall, right? Whether we're talking about Robert Williams, I mean, Joe Mazzulla talking about Michael Brogdon, how he's feeling, right? I mean, it just goes to show how it's a testament to the depth of the Celtics' backcourt and having guys like Derek White and Peyton Pritchard that you can plug in. But also the fact that these guys, I mean, the organization, Celtics organization, they've been monitoring their guys and they've done a really good job of making sure that they're ready to go, for the deep run. And I think that's what Marcus had in mind.
Here's Marcus at practice talking about the injury.
I'm okay, relatively speaking. A little sore today. See how I feel tomorrow, though. Not really sure where we're at right now with playing, but we'll see.
And I see Sawichi there with a bucket hat.
Yo, that wasn't me, by the way. I don't know. I think it might have been Ahmed who tweeted that out on the Celtics CLNS account on Twitter. But yeah, I did think of you though. I did. I was like, man, there's another guy with the bucket hat vibes, and here you are rocking it. This is the first time I've seen you rocking it since we've been down here.
I want everybody to know I brought one. I didn't come unprepared, and we need it down here. The sun has been beating on us.
Yeah, man. And plus, you can't let someone steal your style. You know what I mean, Bobby? You got to make sure you let everybody know. Like, there's only one bucket hat go-to wearer on the Celtics beat, and that's Bobby Manning.
So this is what I said. This is what I said.
I'm glad you brought it with you. I really am. I should have brought my shades.
I said this to Sherrod about Jalen entering this series because we wondered if Jalen was going to be ready to go in this series. He is still dealing with that right hand cut, and even though it seemed obvious Jalen would give it a go in this series, my concern was that he might be limited. He might not play as well as he had to close the season. And he's played well in the series so far, but you see those moments like that breakout late in the game where Tatum missed the game tying 3, where I almost feel like a different version of Jalen could have scored in that situation and played better in the series overall so far. So even if Smart gets out there, and I have no doubt he'll try to no matter what, you wonder how effective he'll be because he was great last game hitting threes. He went cold in the fourth quarter and they had to take him out. But to that point, he had held them in it. He hit that one to give them another chance after DeJounte Murray's 3. So he's been shooting well in this series. Game 1, his defense was incredible. In Game 2, I thought he was pretty sharp on that end too. So he finally got healthy after all the injuries he went through all year. And now you wonder if it's going to be this diminished version of Smart that we watch for much of the year, even if he does return for Game 4.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just more the reason why you have to be careful with this, right? Especially something like a back injury, that chronic injury where you're not quite sure how it's going to flare up on a day-to-day basis. So I think the Celtics going to do the due diligence in trying to maintain that. But obviously, a lot of that has to do with Marcus Smart's in terms of how he's able to play with that pain. He has to. He only Marcus can tell. Only Marcus will know how much he's able to play through that. And I think that's where the Celtics have to gauge exactly how he reacts and how he responds, and how his body responds to everything, right? And in terms of Jaylen Brown, I just feel like if this was an opponent where you needed Jaylen to score 30 plus, or not maybe not 30 plus, but be top notch Jaylen, I think you maybe see more of that. Maybe he's taking his time a little bit in a sense of like trying to just fall into what the Celtics offense has been doing, because they've been thriving. I mean, outside of Game 3, obviously they've been spectacular, and I think Jaylen has been picking his spot. But there's certainly something to that hand. I mean, you're seeing that trepidation through his approach and the way he's attacking the rim, and you're wondering how he's going to feel tomorrow morning, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're going to be talking about a week into the series, and since those stitches have reopened, you're wondering where his pain threshold stands compared to game 1, heading in contrast to going into Game 4. I mean,
the big thing is him dribbling with that right hand. And I just heard John Morant, who's coming back from a hand injury now too, is having trouble catching the ball. For Jaylen, it doesn't seem to be shooting. It seems to be getting that dribble off with the right hand. And if you go back and watch that play, I thought key play of the game, whereas Tatum missed that 3, he gets downhill so fast on those transition runouts. And that spot, he almost had to try to catch himself to regain that dribble, because he couldn't get a good grip on it with his right hand there. And that's why he had to dump it off to Horford in the corner, who did find Tatum for a great shot there. But I would have felt better about Brown driving into Sadiq Bey in transition, maybe getting an and one, maybe finishing through contact, rather than Tatum launching a 3 in that spot. And they shot great from 3 in that game. That's the only thing that held them in it, because the Hawks pretty much won all these other areas except turnovers. And so Jaylen, what he said after the game stuck out to me. I have to be more aggressive. I have to look for more spots to score. John was saying last night he wants to see Jaylen impact other areas of the game, since he might be limited in that scoring department. But right now, you're clearly not seeing Jaylen at his best, even though he's managed well despite the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder if this is going to be that breakout game for Jaylen, right? I mean, obviously, it's not like he's been in a slump, but being the scorer that he was all season long, we haven't really seen that through the stretch of like 4 quarters, right? Maybe Game 4 is that one, right? Maybe that's the night where he puts it all together. It's certainly something to keep a close eye on, because the Celtics need that right now. I feel like between Marcus playing hurt, between the offense going stagnant at times, and you want to keep the Atlanta Hawks at bay. I felt like the Celtics, when they pulled ahead, they didn't dominate the way they had in Game 1 and 2, and I think that had a lot to do with the Atlanta Hawks coming right back. I mean, Sadiq Bey couldn't miss a shot, and neither could Bogdanovich. So that obviously, when they got hot from behind the arc, going 8 for 8, that had a lot to do with it. But I feel like the Celtics just couldn't find that offensive rhythm where you have someone like Jaylen in the forefront and they can't slow him down, right? So maybe this is that game. Maybe this is that game where Jaylen pieces it all together, and that'll be more than enough to see the Celtics pull off a double-digit victory. I mean, I just feel like that's what this team maybe not is missing. Maybe that's not what they're missing, but that would be enough to lock in a win and have the Celtics head back to Boston with the 3-1 lead instead of the series being tied up at 2-2 apiece.
Speaking of injuries, and we'll circle back to the Celtics and Hawks in a minute, some news did come out looking ahead to next series if the Celtics win here. Sixers swept the Nets as many expected today. Joel Embiid missed the game with a knee injury. And Doc Rivers, after the game, Josue said it's 50% at best that Embiid will be ready to start next round. Now, if the Celtics took care of business in Game 3, that could have happened as early as Saturday. And maybe you get a game or 2 there, or who knows how many without Embiid if the series starts quickly.
Right.
Now the Celtics are in a tough spot because the Sixers are sitting there resting. If this series goes 6 games, who knows? Embiid could be ready by that point for round 2. So it looks like they missed an opportunity here, or could miss an opportunity to play the Sixers for a game, 2, however many without Embiid, which would have been a ginormous break among many that they've received in the playoffs so far.
This has to be the motivation for these guys to close this thing out. I mean, this has to be like, what could motivate you more than the potential MVP on ice essentially right now, right? And it's all up to you to close it out to make this best of 7 series kick off sooner than anybody, right? So the Celtics have to take care of business. And yeah, Bobby, that's a really good point because at the end of the day, like it's a missed opportunity, but you still have a really good chance here considering the fact that Game 4 is on Sunday, and then you have Game 5 2 days after that, which isn't always the case when you're switching cities in a best of 7 series. But that's the way things are shaking up, for the Celtics. I mean, you look at the first round, that's not always an opportunity you get. You usually have an extra day to travel, and the Celtics have to take advantage of that. And I hope that they do because at the end of the day, Joel Embiid is going to be far from 100%, far from it, right? And the longer you wait to kick off this series, the more rest he gets. And I just also feel like you lose momentum as well, right? You don't want to be, not behind the 8 ball, so to speak, but you don't want to drop 2 games, win 2 games, go into a series. You know what I mean? Like, just get it done, right? Get it done. Game 4, head back to Boston Game 5, and then you stay home. You don't have to travel again. You host the next round, and you carry that momentum to the second round against the 76ers.
Do you think that's where the Celtics go from here? Was that a slip up in Game 3, and they're gonna get back to those dominant showings in Game 1 and 2 and close this out in 5? Because I don't think that's where this is going now. I think the Hawks found their game. I think they found the formula to at least challenge the Celtics, not necessarily beat them again. But I think we'll look at another game tomorrow, like Game 3, where the Hawks are hitting shots, playing aggressive, and crashing that offensive glass, which is something the Celtics don't quite have an answer for right now. They can't keep Sadiq Bey out of there. They can't keep Okongwu, Capella, these guys, despite all the emphasis they put on boxing out and these different things. Those guys just get there first and get in that position and bump them out of the way. And I was asking Tatum after the game, like, did you sense guys like shoving you there? Because I saw a motion toward the ref after one of those offensive rebounds that there might have been a shove or something. And Smart said, we just gotta. It's all about physicality and will and going and getting that ball. So right now the Hawks are just quicker to the ball. I think they've defended slightly better, not great because the Celtics still shot so well in that game and put themselves in position to win it late. But they found, as I've said, these little margins and these holes in the Celtics games that they can take advantage of to keep these games close. And that's how I thought this series was going to go. I had the Celtics in 5, and I still do. But I think the Hawks play well enough and in a style that can keep these games close with the Celtics.
I mean, when you say they found the formula, sure they did, but is that something that they can replicate? I mean, this is a historic first half that sort of set the stage for the Hawks to go into the second.
74 points, yeah.
They've never done that before. Like that's a lot to ask for a team to duplicate, right? If that's the formula. I mean, that's obviously a big part of it. At least it was in Game 3. And 3-point shooting is the other part of it. And rebounding is obviously probably the big 3, right? That completes the big 3 in the sense of the most important things that the Hawks need to do in order to beat the Celtics. And the Celtics, when it comes down to it, what Joe Mazzulla had to say in the Celtics hotel on Saturday is that it comes down to rebounding and effort and overlooked skill at times, how important or how rebounding can impact the game. But at the end of the day, Atlanta Hawks made really tough shots. I mean, that's really the headline of this one. And you wonder if they can duplicate that. You wonder if other guys step up. Honestly, Bobby, going into Game 3, I thought this was a great opportunity for John Collins to wake up and have a big game, but he didn't. And the Hawks won without it, right? I mean, he had a 3-pointer. He finished with not even double digits in scoring and rebounding, but I think his scoring is way more important for this team when you think about someone that can give you that type of production, whether it's the mid-range jump shot or just getting to the free throw line. So I think that's something that you still have to keep an eye on going into Game 4. But the fact that he wasn't a huge part of this win or a huge part of their offense and it had more to do with shooting, I think that works for the Celtics' favor in the sense that they can defend the three-point arc significantly better than they did in Game 3 and then go from there in the sense of just executing offensively and just having so many different offensive weapons that the Atlanta Hawks just can't keep up with. I mean, getting Derek White in foul trouble was a big advantage for the Hawks in that first half. But look for Derek White to bounce back for sure in Game 4. And he's just one of a few people, right? I mean, Jaylen Brown, I think, will bounce back considering what he did in Game 3. Does he have that breakout game? I'm not quite sure. But if he does, that should be just enough, And Jason Tatum is still rolling. He's getting to the free throw line, which was an issue in Boston, believe it or not. An overlooked issue considering the fact that Celtics won both games comfortably. But that's something that Tatum has to continue to work on and have to make sure that he gets the free throw line as many times as possible, because it does change things. And it really gets him going. It almost guarantees a 30-plus point performance out of him. And that's just another headache for the Atlanta Hawks to deal with in Game 4.
Yes, and here's Joe on that shot making, which has been a big deal in this series so far. Celtics still shooting 60% effective field goal, which is ridiculous. Hawks, with that big shooting game last night, got up to 52. So they're keeping these numbers fairly close. Here's Joe on reacting to those shots.
To do with Trae Young and him getting comfortable enough to get that floater off in that fourth quarter. Like, what did you see from him in the sense of, his attack compared to what he was doing in games 1 and 2?
I just thought they made big shots. They're a dynamic team, so when you get into a close game against them, there's a lot that you feel like you're trying to take away, and so you're not going to take away everything. And so I thought they had big-time shots. The three in the corner on Al was a big shot. The Murray three on Derek was a big shot. Going under Murray, stopping behind, shooting the pick and roll. So I thought their players just made big shots down the stretch.
Yeah, and on that Murray point, I'm interested how this back and forth with Murray is going to escalate here, because in Game 2, I believe, he was John with the Celtics bench when the game was close after hitting a shot, and I think
What do you mean, Bobby? He was asking Joe Mazzulla how his day is going, man. What a nice guy.
Yeah, and I
I
think
think that's a euphemism for he was talking trash, but that's the way Joe Mazzulla said it.
yeah, and Murray said it was nothing after that game. We didn't get to talk to Murray today. I would have liked to have, but I asked Sadiq Bey if there's been a lot of trash talk out there, if there's been that back and forth, and he said, yeah, that's normal though. That's playoff basketball. That's basketball in general, and I'm enjoying seeing this Murray breakout into the playoffs. And that's, of course, him and his teammate going back and forth there. I did like Smart pointing back after he hit his three. This could escalate, though, if the series gets a little more tense. In that moment, maybe the Celtics turn around, and who knows where this could go here, because it does seem like Murray wants that heat with the Celtics back and forth. He's embracing some of that conversation on the court with the bench and with his old teammate Derek there, which I think is great, because those two came up together and really became stars in their roles with the Spurs, and now are leading their teams into the playoffs here.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's easily the most dangerous player for the Celtics, right? Like, I don't even think it's close.
He was blowing by guys in that game.
It's insane. I mean, Trae is Trae, but he just gives you a whole nother headache. I mean, I just feel like with Trae, he has to sort of work his way into that momentum. The three-point shot is big, but DeJounte Murray, he has so many different ways to attack. He has other ways they can be effective on defense, man. He'll go the length of the court, strip your best scorer and finish on the other end. I mean, I just think someone like that, it can just causes fits for the Celtics, but especially when he's as hungry as he is right now. I mean, he doesn't play in this. He's not in this atmosphere a lot, right? And it's his first year with the Atlanta Hawks. He's in the playoffs. Like, it's been a while, and you're starting to see that. And I think that he could be someone that could go off, in the sense of going for 40 if he wants to, right? Whether that's best for the Atlanta Hawks, it's really up to him when you think about it. But if it comes down to it and it's like a close game going to the fourth quarter, he's someone that's prone to going off. So something have to be wary of that. But also, you have to consider the fact that the Celtics, when they string together defensive stops, it's devastating for this Hawks team. I mean, we saw that in games 1 and 2. When the Hawks get out to a double-digit lead and the Celtics wipe it out in 2, 3, 4 minutes, that's devastating as well. So the Celtics have to keep that defensive intensity. And I'm more than positive that the Hawks won't have enough reinforcements outside of Murray to keep up with the Celtics. Murray can do him, and it won't be enough if the Celtics stick to that game plan and defending them at a high level where the Hawks can't find that offensive momentum outside of Murray.
Yes, and of course, we are brought to you here at the Garden Report by FanDuel. I'm trying to get my mouse to appear. It just disappeared. But FanDuel, anyway, .com/Boston is where you got to go. These playoffs, these NHL playoffs as well, which are in full swing. And of course, Major League Baseball, which is into almost its second month now. with May approaching quick. Massachusetts got in on the action with FanDuel, and we're unable to use it down here in Georgia, though, Josue, so we got to wait till Monday to get back to Mass.
I'm tight, Bobby. Man, I still have a good chunk of that $200 bonus. So the moment I get back to Boston, I have to use it because the deadline's approaching. But you guys still got plenty of time. You guys still have, our viewers still have the rest of the weekend and then some. But yeah, man, get on that if you haven't already.
Yes, and of course, they're the official sports book of Major League Baseball. America's #1 sports book is live in Mass, as they have been for a month or two now. And new customers in Mass, if you still haven't tried it out, get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets. This is expiring soon, according to John last night. I heard him say that this is going to be out of there. It's got to basically deposit $10, bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets. On your favorite sports, money line, point spreads, player props, and more. Same game parlays. They're always recommending stuff and giving boosts and random bonuses too. There's just so much to mess around with here on FanDuel. So go give it a shot. Give yourself $200 to play around with and just try it out. Bet on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use and get $200 in bonus bets. As I said, win or lose when you go to FanDuel.com/Boston. Deposit 10 again, as I said. And play 5, and you are on your way. Yeah, that's FanDuel.com/Boston. Don't know where my mouse went, but of course, you got to be 21 plus and present in Mass. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable. Bonus bets to expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Hope is here. gamblinghelplinema.org or 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Josue, you were at Celtics practice. I know they talked a little Grant, keeping him engaged and active. Joe talked about the game plans and what they're looking forward to in Game 4. At this point, I guess for both teams, you haven't loved Collins' play in this series so far, so I'm interested in seeing where the Hawks go with that. The Celtics are probably going to stick with what they do, but we've seen them do a few different things in this series. They've tried that 3-guard lineup at times that showed something in Game 2, appeared on the court very briefly in Game 3, but didn't appear much in that second half. They try to go bigger with Grant and several other rotations. We've seen a little double big, not as much in Game 3, either though only 19 minutes of Rob. So what are you looking for from the Celtics now in terms of adjustments going forward? Are they just going to keep doing the same thing, you think, and try to regain their play from games 1 and 2?
I think they do more of the same. You want to tighten up on defense, especially pick and roll defense with Trae Young, which you have to credit Trae. In my opinion, in the first half, he was trying to get other guys involved, and he picked the spots when to attack. And I think the Celtics just sagged a little too much in their drop coverage on Trae. Once he gets that floater going, which is what he did in that fourth quarter, it was a wrap. I mean, like, that's all he needs to not only get himself going, but to get that three-point shot going, which he hit a big one against Al Horford. And Joe Mazzulla, for the most part, throughout his media availability, just called it as they made tough shots. And obviously, Trae was part of that. So was Murray. I feel like those two really took turns in those last, 3-4 minutes. But it also had to do with the floater and how you defend that. You know, Robert Williams was asked about that. Like, is there a specific point in the court where, you know, a mark by the free throw or after the free throw line where you decide that's when you capitalize? I mean, that's when you close out on Trae. Like, if there's a specific part of the court where you can't allow him to go to. And he said it as the way Rob put it was, that's each their own, right? Like, you have to know exactly where you want to put yourself in that position, right? You want to know exactly what Trae's tendencies are, but you can't necessarily, you know, call it. And in my opinion, I think it was, if you look back on it, I feel like Rodgers didn't want to give out the secret. But I think for the most part, what he was trying to say is that you have to. It's hard to say exactly where you pick that mark. Whereas the entire game, things are different, things are going. It's hard to say exactly, but the Celtics have to. They've shown in games 1 and 2 that they can make him. They could take him out of the game, and he's still going to get his 20-plus points. But what you don't want to do is have him find that momentum in the fourth quarter, in those last 4 minutes where he feels like he can hit anything. And then it happens. And then Murray does the same thing. That stuff is contagious between the two of them. So I just think the Celtics do more of the same, honestly. and trying to stay out of foul trouble. Derek White, which is what happened in that first quarter, and then just doing your best to get the offense flowing. Whether it's White taking advantage of the open looks, Tatum doing what he's been doing all series long, attacking the rim and also hitting the 3-point shots, and doing your best to try to get Jalen involved. That's key.
Yes, and on that Rob point, I wonder why he isn't playing more right now. Whether it's health, whether it's the matchups here, or a lack of trust, I guess, in him to be in the right spot defensively against his team, which shouldn't be the issue. Maybe it's offense now as they try to race with this other great Hawks offense. 19 minutes feels so low, and I know we weren't going to see him get up to 27, 30 like he did earlier in the year. It was probably going to be 20, 25 of him in these short, rapid bursts where he gives you everything he has and you love it. Early in the series, I thought he had a much greater impact than we saw in Game 3, and his role almost seemed minimized in Game 3. As they're getting beat on the boards late, you wonder why they don't have their best rebounder, and he clearly is that on the floor who can just leap up and grab it out of the air on top of anybody's head. He seems like the answer for some of the defensive rebounding issues they've had and the rim protection issues. 0 blocks last game after almost setting a franchise record with 12. That stuck out to me so much. And I don't know if he's hurting right now. I don't know if they don't trust him. Yeah, I know he was jumping around fouling a little bit in that third quarter there, but this is a conversation we've had since 2021 with Rob. Live with some of the mistakes, live with some of the shortcomings, because the upside and your play overall is going to be so much better just by having him out there. And it's not like you have to pick between him and Al because they've run some double big lineups through this series. So I'm super confused why they don't play Rob more right now.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder if it's a matter of they're just trying to pace him into. I mean, I guess that sounds weird. I mean, I don't think they're trying to pace him into the series, but I think they're like.
They might just be forgetting about him.
I mean, you think that's what it is? I don't think they're trying to dial him back.
Unless he's hurt, I don't know why he'd play 19 minutes.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he's not hurt, but they're just very delicate with him. I just think
Yeah.
If you're the Celtics, you're always going to think about last season. And towards the end of that run, he was day-to-day. And that wasn't how he started the postseason. So I think what the Celtics are trying to figure out is, what did we do wrong? Or how can we minimize Rob without sacrificing his production, right? I mean, rounds 1 and 2, we get a good feel where he's at. He looked incredible in games 1 and 2. So maybe they try and, get other guys involved. Maybe that had a little bit to do with unleashing Grant as early as he did, even though I think Derek White being in foul trouble was the leading cause for seeing Grant that early. Check into the game that early, check into the series so early in Game 3. But I think that's the best way to explain it, honestly, man. You consider what happened last season, and you don't want a day-to-day Rob. And the Celtics are very fortunate that that's not the case. So I just think they're trying to be careful here. But going into Game 4 has to be a different approach, because you have to look at this game as maybe not like a must-win, but that's how you should approach it, because considering what's going on in Philly and the fact that you're going back to Boston and you can close this thing out, you don't want to give this guys a slimmer of hope that no matter what, this series is going back to Atlanta. And that's all it takes, right? Hawks win one more game. They know they have a home game on the docket. And I feel the Celtics, you want to avoid that at all costs.
Oh, you got me?
Yeah, shit, did I lose you that whole time?
Nope, I got you. All right. So, yeah, I agree with all that. It's going to be a mystery on Rob, as it always is, and we'll see how they use him. Maybe they prioritize him in this next game, given how those boards are going. We're, of course, also brought to you by BetterHelp.com. You can go to betterhelp.com and get connected with licensed therapists on your phone. Finding the right one is so important. I was actually just talking to one of my friends on social media who was looking for one. And the process is just puzzling sometimes. You call around, you don't know who's taking what insurance, and it's just such a complicated system that streamlining it, especially if you do feel like you need to talk to somebody, is super important. And BetterHelp makes that easy, convenient, and flexible with your schedule, which are really the 3 keys to their service. If you're thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, as I said, flexible, affordable is the big one too. And you just need to fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. That's a big one. You might try and not like who you're linked up with. You might not feel like you're connecting with them, or maybe you just need to talk to someone who looks like you or shares some similar experiences. Those are all important too, and that's why BetterHelp's so great. And especially, what I always say is, like, you don't need to be going through a crisis or anything like that just to talk to someone. Might just need to be checking in. And the great part about this offer here is that you're going to get 10% off your first month when you head to betterhelp.com/garden. That's 10% off your first month. HELP, betterhelp.com/garden for 10% off your first month there. We're going to be back at shoot around tomorrow, Josue, in the morning. We debated this a little bit last night. I've given you a day to think it over. So 24 hours later, do you think Grant will be out there tomorrow, and should he?
Yes, he should.
There we go.
He should. The first or one of the first off the bench, maybe not. But I think Grant has earned himself walking towards the scores table before halftime. At some point before halftime, he's earned it. Come on, man! Like, and these guys are cheering for him. I love what Robert Williams had to say, telling him to make the most of his minutes, and what he means to the defense, especially. You can always, if you impact the defensive end of the floor, that's always gonna give you a shot at earning good, if you will, right? And look, when the Celtics really needed him, their offense needed a boost, he gave it to them. He provided that in Game 3. It wasn't in a winning effort, but it was enough for someone like Grant, who hadn't checked in at all in this best 7 series. And that's not easy. Less than 1 minute after you check into a playoff series on the road, you knock down a couple of more. Like, I just think that's something that Joe Mazzulla had him in, and putting him into the rotation, not in garbage time, or not in a situation where you're forced to think he should be part of the rotation in Game 4.
Agreed. One other thing from this game, we talked about it getting a little tense on the court. We heard the Celtics fans giving Trae Young some crap after Game 2, after he called them respectful, which I thought was funny. Like, he didn't even go at the crowd. He just kind of complimented them, and they were right on him, calling him overrated and this and that. They were going at Malcolm Brogdon in Atlanta over some mild comments he gave Gary Washburn at shoot around on Friday about Hawks fans not being the most dedicated. Well, he riled them up. They were saying Brogdon sucks. We don't claim you. He didn't react to that.
Was that it? I was trying to make out what they were saying. Was it "we don't claim you"? I couldn't understand. I couldn't make out what he was saying.
Weird to see Brogdon.
Native.
Brogdon always kind of buttoned up, political-like, politician-like rather, becoming a target for the Atlanta fans in this series, especially in his hometown here. They were on him early. They were after him every time he got the ball. I thought that was an under-discussed storyline from last game, and we didn't hear his reaction to it. But I'm excited to, because Brogdon is normally not a guy who stirs anything up, and probably doesn't even want to be in this position right now.
on the day after the NBA just gave him his flowers too, man. 6th man of the year. Man, you know what though? He's not the first person to say something like this, and I'm sure he won't be the last. But I mean, the Hawks fans definitely showed out in Game 3. We'll see what happens in Game 4.
I thought they did after halftime, especially.
Yeah, especially, and the Hawks needed that for sure. I mean, Al said something similar after he signed with Boston, obviously. But yeah, I mean, look, sometimes the fans are there, sometimes they're there late in the game, and they're not always all into it for 4 quarters. But they had their best showing in Game 3. But hopefully Malcolm Brogdon can make them pay on Game 4, man. I would love to see Brogdon go off maybe 20 plus points in a game where he's thorough, which he's been all series long. But maybe he takes it up a notch.
You're waiting for a big game. You're waiting for a big game from him.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe this will be the Brogdon game. Maybe this will be the one.
A quiet, efficient 17 in Game 3. Didn't notice much of it. He missed the layup in transition. He's had a few of those moments this year, but the shooting's still so good from 3. Defensively, Joe's super impressed with him right now, but you're waiting for that big breakout moment, which hasn't happened yet in this series. And again, that could be game 4 with him. And that's all we got here today. Of course, check out FanDuel, check out all the interviews from today on CLNS Media. Go subscribe over there. And we can't forget before we sign off, Athletic Greens, athleticgreens.com/garden. We'll get you there. Powder 75 vitamins, minerals, adaptogens, probiotics, and more. And they're throwing in 5 free travel packs, which is crucial as we're on the road here in Atlanta. Taking those with us, having it each morning, getting all the pretty much key ingredients to your health. They're almost all available here in Athletic Greens, so you don't have to go and buy a bunch of different stuff to get all of these things. If it's in your diet, if it's missing from your diet rather, or if you need these as your supplements, it can get expensive piling them all up in separate locations. Do it all in one spot with athleticgreens.com. They call it your nutritional insurance, which I think is a great way to put it because you're getting all of these things in one scoop in your water each morning. They got cool containers. They got cool bottles to drink it out of when you sign up. And of course, the year's supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs when you head over there. Check it out, athleticgreens.com/garden. See if it's for you. The reviews are great. Almost 5 stars across the board if you don't want to take our word for it. And lots of other athletes, celebrities, people are using this. So again, 3 years supply of vitamin D, 5 free travel packs when you go to athleticgreens.com. Thanks to them. Thanks to Josue down here in Atlanta. We will be at shoot-around tomorrow at State Farm Arena. So check out Celtics All Access and Celtics CLNS for coverage of that. And then it's back to Boston. There will be a game 5 after the Celtics lost game 3 on Tuesday. So we'll have one more game covered at TD Garden. And whenever the Celtics can wrap this up, they're on to Philadelphia now. Philadelphia sweeping the Nets today and moving on to round 2. Thanks again, Josue. And thanks to everybody for watching and following our coverage down here.